They said his face was round like the moon. He had a large forehead, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He had arched eyebrows with a gap in the middle. He had long eyelashes, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He had some grey hairs in his beard. Some grey hairs. He used to have a vein on his forehead that would appear when he would become angry or distressed. Sahaba described, they said he had broad shoulders, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. My brothers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has a way, He has a system. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a sunnah. And this sunnah is up to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. He picks and chooses what He wants, when He wants, how He wants, and no one questions Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of all of the planets, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose Earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of the billions and billions of angels, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He chose Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam to be the best and the greatest. And Jibreel is not necessarily the biggest. There are angels that are far bigger than him. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He chose Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam. Out of the 12 months of the year, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the month of Ramadan. Out of the 7 days of the week, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the day of Jum'ah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses what He wants. And out of the billions and billions of human beings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He chose 125,000. And He made them His prophets and His messengers. This was the cream. And from the 125,000, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He chose 5. And He called them the prophets of power and might and strength. Ibrahim, Musa, Isa, Nuh, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And from the 5, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selected 1. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He chose your Habib sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, when He addressed all the other prophets, He says, وَسَلَامٌ عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَسَلَامٌ عَلَى نُوحٍ وَسَلَامٌ عَلى عِيسَى and Musa. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He spoke to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, He didn't give him salam. Rather, He said to him, إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَةُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا صَلُّوا عَلَيْهِ وَسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. This was the honor that was given to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He says, Allah and His angels make salam on him. O you who believe, make salam on him and submit towards him sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This was the honor that was given to your beloved Prophet. But I ask you sincerely, how much do you know about him? The Sahaba, they describe him sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They said he was neither tall, neither short. He was of medium build, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, inclining towards height. They said his skin color was neither black, neither white. It was what they call like a pasty. Everything about him was middle. Everything about him was the middle way. They said his face was round like the moon. He had a large forehead, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He had arched eyebrows with a gap in the middle. He had long eyelashes, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He had jet black hair. His hair was jet black. It was neither straight, neither curly. It was wavy. And sometimes he used to grow his hair, sometimes to his shoulders, sometimes to his ears, but it never went past his shoulders. And sometimes for the ibadat, like Hajj and Umrah, he used to shave completely. He had high cheekbones, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He had some red on his cheeks. He had large eyes that were black. His eyes were black, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They said he always smiled, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They described his teeth to be like hailstones, white, and he had a gap between every tooth. He had a thick beard, contrary to what some people want to believe. In the authentic narrations, he had a thick black beard. In fact, the Sahaba used to describe, they used to say, when we used to see him praying, we used to see his beard hit his chest as he would recite Quran. He had some grey hairs in his beard. some grey hairs. He used to have a vein on his forehead that would appear when he would become angry or distressed. Sahaba described, they said he had broad shoulders, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Had a large chest, a flat stomach, not like mine unfortunately, but a flat stomach. They described he had some hair on his chest, not a lot, but some hair on his chest, and his hair would come down, and he had what they described like a snail trail. It would come down to the bottom of his stomach. They described him of having large hands, soft like silk. He was built like an athlete, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even in old age, even when he reached old age, his stomach never went past his chest. And really, why would it? Why would it? Aisha describes radiallahu ta'ala anha, she's telling her nephew Urwa. She says, Wallahi ibn akhti, Wallahi, we used to see the moon, then the full moon, then the full moon. 2 complete months used to pass us by, and not a single flame, no cooking, no boiling of any sort. Not a single flame would be made in any of the 9 houses of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. People think when you get اللي عنده كرش بيسوى قرش. You heard this amongst the Arabs, that when you get fat and big, this is barakah. Wallahi, this is ghadab from Allah. This is not barakah. So they asked Urwa, Urwa asked his auntie. They said, my auntie, and how did you people survive? 2 months. Today, if you go home now and there's no cooking, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. What are you doing at home, woman? She said, al-aswadan, al-tamru wal-ma'. We survived off dates and water for 2 consecutive months. He was always smiling, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. In fact, the Sahaba described his character that if you ever spoke to him, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you ever spoke to him, he never turned his head, never. He would always turn his body and give you his shoulders and gave you his full attention. If you shook his hand, he will never remove his hand until you removed it first. They described his personality, his character. They said he had the quality that is now definitely lost in our ummah, unfortunately. But he had a character, he had a quality called haya. Today we think haya is a weakness. Mastur, ma bihki az-zalami. No. We need strong people who talk. Your Prophet didn't talk much, but when it came to action, by Allah, there was no one like him. In fact, when they described his hayat, they said he was like a virgin woman behind the veil. But don't for a second think that this was weakness. See, unfortunately, we think hayat is weakness. No. Because the same Sahaba, they described the Prophet of Allah. They said, Wallahi, when we were on the battlefield, yes, your Prophet was on the battlefield. They said, when we were on the battlefield and the fighting got so intense that we couldn't fight anymore, they said, Wallahi, we used to run behind the back of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam while he continued fighting like a warrior. But I'm not here to impress you with the looks of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I'm here to ask you sincerely, my brother, do you love him like he loved you? Do you love your Habib like he loved you, sallallahu alayhi wasallam? How much do you know about your Prophet, my brother? And be truthful to yourself.